All right, good evening. Look at that. Gary's back and we hear it. All right. Well, I've already had 55 complaints about no papers, but look, it's because it's part of the plan, Stan. Just hang with me for a few. There's a reason we're there's a little bit of a shift of gears tonight, and want really tonight to be more focused on prayer. Several things that are going on. We'll come to prayer requests in a minute, but I kind of just like as we move that direction, I just want to devotionally think about this for a minute. You know, we use this idea like we want to be like the early church. It's a great idea. It's a weird statement though, isn't it? Because like the early church was flawed, just like any church is. It's made up of human beings. In fact, they needed correction. The only reason we have anything in the New Testament after the book of Acts is because they were messed up churches who needed a letter written to them. But the one thing that we see, like if we are going to zero in on the early church, we're going to ask why were they so successful at evangelizing their world. I think there's several answers to that. But I think one of the things certainly has to be their commitment to prayer. I mean, not just their preaching or their miracles or their community. All that was a part of it. This was the deepest part of it. In fact, I would argue that their biggest strategy for winning the world was prayer. That was their biggest strategy. And just want to back up just a little bit to really catch this and think towards like the Gospel of John. Jesus spent some time with the disciples in chapter 14, and he tells them, hey guys, it's been a good ride, but I'm going away. And it's the whole I'm going away to prepare a place for you, that you may be where I am also. That, and they're like, man, Jesus, if you leave, how are we going to know the way? And I am the way, the truth, and the life. And really in John 14, Jesus has to tell the disciples, don't worry about it, guys. I know you've got this incredible task I'm leaving you with of winning the entire world, but I'm going to send you some help. And the main helper is going to be the power of the Holy Spirit, who's going to help you carry out this mission as my apostles. But on top of that, I believe what we'll find is that Jesus demonstrated that power is unlocked through prayer. So we have John 14, 15, 16, really Jesus teaching about what apostolic authority is going to be like, what their mission is, the help that he's going to specially give them as apostles. And then in chapter 17, he prays with them and for them. And if you remember in John 17, I think this is often called like a high priestly prayer. He prays for the disciples, and then eventually he prays for us, the future of the church, that the mission might be carried out. And this was central. So then when we get like to the end, Jesus dies, buried, resurrected, spends that time showing himself and teaching after he's resurrected. And finally they're in Jerusalem and he's like, see you guys later, right? He ascends to heaven in their presence, and the disciples once again are left afraid. They don't know exactly what's going on. So they do what they did at every single turn of uncertainty. They pray about it. In fact, we'll find in Acts chapter 1 that the early church, that the church itself was born out of a prayer meeting. It was born out of a organized, specific time of prayer. In fact, in Acts chapter 1 in verse 14, it says, all these were with one accord and were devoting themselves continually to prayer, right? And so this was what they were doing. What were they doing from the time that Jesus ascended to heaven to the time that the church starts on the day of Pentecost? They were praying. And they had another problem that emerged even before this starts. Acts chapter 1, verse 24 through 26, they've got to appoint a 12th right? You remember what happened? Judas is he's left hanging. That's kind of funny, like as a joke, right? It's not funny, but it's funny enough. And so, what's that? That was bad. I know it was bad. It was that bad. And so Judas is gone. They've got to replace Judas. And you know what they do? They pray about it, right? And I just like I come back to this constantly. If we try to make this the model for us, how often we try to do things and achieve things by planning and not enough by prayer. And I understand that there might be times where we've got to plan, we've got to prepare, we've got to be mindful of those things, but without prayer, that's fruitless. So they got to replace Judas. So